Well, good evening, everyone. How are each and every one of you this fine evening? Excellent, excellent. So, we have not done a presentation like this in some time, and so we are very excited to be here with you tonight. And we don't have an agenda per se, other than to invite people to come forward and to ask their question, and we will address your question directly. So, do we have any volunteers that would like to step forward and get us started tonight? And just come up and we will hand you the microphone. Oh, everyone is stepping up right away, and we cannot serve you all at once. It can be simple. You don't have to feel like you're on the spot. You can ask an ordinary question, or we can just talk, and perhaps as we speak, you'll have questions that will come to mind. And you don't have to come forward. The only purpose in the microphone is that your voice would be recorded, you see? And if you would like your voice recorded, because we will be making this video available on YouTube, we believe, you would hear your question, right? As opposed to us just responding to your question, because we will not repeat your question. We can tell you that, right? It may become repeated in the way that we speak, but is there anyone that has a question?
I can start.
Yes, please.
It's a general question.
Yes.
What is the guidance that you will give us as this country goes through what it's going through politically?
Well, you are living in accelerated times, and what we mean by that is the experiences that are made available to you are accelerating. You're moving through one experience to another in rapid fashion. And in this time, what we're looking at is tolerance. This is a big thing that we're looking at, right? You have agendas from the left and the right, right? Not only that, but you have agendas from those people that are in positions of power, and even beyond the people that are in positions of power, right? And they are attempting to serve themselves. We talk about this concept a lot, the service to self and service to others. And those that hold the power or pull the strings upon this planet are serving themselves, right? But you are moving into a new paradigm. And this paradigm is one where the negativity drops away, you see. And this negativity, this greediness, this service to self begins to fall away. And you find yourself in an environment where it is service to others. So these are general terms. But in terms of the politics of your time, what you are seeing is like a pendulum effect, right? You go from a point of view that has many beliefs and thought patterns to the extreme opposite of that has many beliefs and thought patterns. And so you are being yanked back and forth, right? And what will happen is that those who are on the left will be happy while those who are on the left are in power, and those who are on the right will be unhappy while those on the left are in power. And then the opposite occurs when those who are on the right come to power, right? And yet, through this being pulled back and forth, you are forced to examine your own beliefs. Sometimes some people are not willing to examine them, but you are given a ripe environment in which to examine your beliefs. And perhaps what you'll find is that a belief that you hold isn't accurate, or it doesn't serve you, or somehow is of disservice to others, right? Because you're constantly being offered the contrast between the two points of view. And so what we would recommend for you is, if you could, and maybe some of you would cry out at this request, but to stop watching mainstream media, right? Because it is a way that is used in your society to program people's belief systems, right? And by watching your television or watching specific videos on social media or what have you, you are adopting these belief systems, even in a way that you're not fully conscious of. And as you believe these ideas that are being promulgated on these various outlets, then you are taking these beliefs and using them to modify your perception, how you interpret reality. But you're using someone else's means for or interpretation of the realities and not your own. And so, what is best to do in this time is understanding that you're learning to be tolerant. It is one of the effects of this time. And also, you're learning to take your power back and allowing yourself the opportunity to make up your own mind, right? And not take on the decisions and the directions and the point of view of those others that would wish to inform you what is happening in your world. Because there is distortion in any of these messages that are coming through. They are said in such a way as to promote their agenda, right? And so it would be helpful for them if they could get you in a position to follow along with what their beliefs are, what their agenda is, because you then will do their bidding, you see. And so the freedom that you will begin to understand that comes from this process of tolerance is then independence, the ability to think freely for yourself and not be controlled by the narrative that is constantly being pushed in your direction, shall we say. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Very well.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
When you speak about what is coming with this supposed bifurcation or trifurcation, that,
Well, it is a bifurcation from our perspective.
okay, yes, what is coming, that there will be decisions made to stay entirely human or to become more AI, humanoid?
Well, transhumanism is what you're
Yes, so
referring to.
can you speak on this, please?
Yes, so what we see is that there is a choice ahead for everyone, and some may not see it as a choice. They may feel like they are being carried along in the current of whatever is in the forefront of your society's attention. But you must understand that much of what is known publicly through typical outlets that we have just discussed are the agenda of those who are service to self, right? Those who are service to others have been, and for a long time, in the position of balancing out the actions of those who are service to self. Okay? So if we start with that, then you can imagine that AI is originating from the forces that are service to self. Because you can imagine what would happen to a society that became dependent on AI, right? You ask AI a question, and will you get an unbiased and balanced response? Well, maybe you will today, but will you tomorrow, right? So the bifurcation that you're talking about really is this idea of those who are wishing to continue to service themselves. They want to amass more control, amass more power, right? That is what their agenda is, more wealth in the world, and take this right to choose away from the masses. This is what they are going for in very simple terms, right? And yet, you are evolving. The planet is evolving. The space in which you all exist at this moment is evolving. And so the choice point is are you going to become a pawn of those who are service to others, or are service to self, sorry. We want to talk about service to others. A pawn of those who are service to self, to be swept along in that current? Or would you wish freedom for yourself and the right to choose for yourself, right? And so you're seeing a lot of this come out in the speakings of the political parties. You would say that the right that is in power now is attempting to do these things, and yet there can be much controversy about how they're accomplishing that, right? Some people would say, oh, well, it's just another form of the oligarchy, right? And that these billionaires are seemingly putting on a face that is appealing and fair and is providing some benefit to the population, and yet they're deceiving everyone because they're just working to enact their plan, right? And so these are the dramas of what was. and one side of this bifurcation. The other side is those who are service to others, and that is the restoration of your free will, your right to make choices, your right to determine the outcome of your life, to pursue that which is in alignment with your heart's desire, right? And what happens is, in this time, this is a time of choosing, you find that you either are acting in a way that is selfish or greedy or is serving yourself, and you remain with that side of things, so to speak, and you get carried forward to, when it completely separates, you will remain on the service to self side, or will you be in a position, and many of you are today, it is one of the reasons that you are here, that you are interested in serving others, right? You wish to be giving and you wish to be helpful. You don't want to manipulate people. You don't want to somehow con them into giving you what you want from them, right? That's more service to self. You want to be in a position where you can choose the actions that you take in this world in the pursuit of your heart's desire. And you want to be able to do that without interference. You want to be able to do that without some forces saying, no, you can't do that. Or you can't fly without proper identification. You must have your photo taken before you can pass through security. We must somehow restrict your freedom of movement. This is not what you want, right? You want safety, of course, but you understand that a lot of what happens in the name of safety in this time is really more of a stage play, Like these controls are put in place in the name of safety or some sort of protection, but it's just another form of tightening their grip, right? And easing more of your rights and freedoms from you. This is not what you want as a person pursuing the other path. And so you can see that the path of service to self seems to be in a spiral that goes downwards because it wants to exert more and more control. And then on the other side, that is service to others, it's a spiral that is going up. This is our analogy because it's allowing more and more freedom, more and more types of expression, more and more possibilities of what life can be, you see? And so there will become a point in choosing. And what we would see, or what we would say, what we are seeing, is that people have actually chosen already. There's just some stragglers left that are beginning to understand that there is a choice here in where they want to put their attention. And some who had been serving themselves, more often than serving others, are starting to see, perhaps you could say, the error of their ways and are choosing to be of service. And it doesn't take much. You just need to perhaps be more of service in a percentage than of service to yourself. And then you will be carried in the current that is spiraling upwards, as we explained before. Now, does that answer your question, or is there something specific?
It does, just a little bit more
Yes.
at the choice point that people will have in the
Yes.
coming years to either take implants
Yes.
for the greater good as they are presenting them,
Yes.
proposed to be by 2030, that they want all newborns to have them.
Yes.
I'm just curious, are we going to continue to coexist with each one walking down the street with implants and the others are pure humans?
Well, we have to be careful of this because as you are moving more to the side that is serving others, you are actually switching probabilities of events to occur within your experience. So what this means is as you're shifting to the paradigm that is service to others, the idea of implants and the possibility of that happening decreases and decreases until there's a point where those sorts of mechanisms disappear from your reality. Because those mechanisms, the point of them is to facilitate the agenda of those who are service to self, you see?
Yes, thank you very much.
Very well. Very well. Are there other questions that you would wish us to address?
So, as you know, our imagination can be a very powerful tool.
It is a very powerful tool.
If we vision something, it most likely already exists. So my question for you is, how can we continue to manifest what is best for our higher being while still being in the place of unknown?
Yes, the way that you say this is quite complex from our perspective, right? We use a very simple term. We say, follow your heart's desire, right? And so many people have this difficulty, this struggle between following their heart's desire and living in this culture, because this culture requires payment. You have to pay for your food and housing and your automobile and your insurance and so on and so forth. And sometimes the choosing the path of your heart's desire can seem like you may not be able to earn an income, right? And for us, it simply comes down to a few principles. It is important for you to follow your heart's desire, because as you follow your heart's desire, then essentially the universe rallies around you and supports you and provides you the energy in that pursuit. As you are not pursuing the path of your heart's desire, what happens is your energy becomes fragmented and the support begins to withdraw. Not that they fully withdraw their support, because they would wish you to find your way back on the path of your heart's desire. Those who are supporting you, your guides, for example, and aspects of your higher being, right? And so what is important here is being clear on what your heart's desire is. What brings you joy? What excites you? What brings a smile to your face? It turns out that your heart's desire has been the same ever since you were a child, ever since that you can remember. And the difference is that now, as an adult, you interpret it through an adult's eyes. So it is not quite the same as when you were a child, but in essence, it is the same heart's desire over and over. Your heart is a way in which your higher self communicates to you. And the heart's desire it comes up in the form of a wanting to pursue something in particular. You see something, you say, I want that, or I want to do this, or I love this kind of thing. That's your heart's desire speaking to you. And your heart's desire is coming from you at a higher level, right? You could say, if you want to think about it in terms of time, that you chose what it is that this life would be about, and the remembrance of what you chose comes through constantly as your heart's desire, right? And then the other aspect of this is that it is important for you to make requests. You have all heard the phrase, ask and it is given, have you not?
Yes.
Yes. And this is very important because it is a law, shall we say. As you are asking, you will receive, or you are receiving. Ask and you shall receive. For us, there is no time lag, so the use of the word will is actually an inaccuracy. As you ask, so you receive, perhaps is more accurate. And yet you may say, well, that is not my experience. I've asked for many things that I never got, right? Well, so what you're not considering in this process is that you come to the table with many beliefs. And these beliefs, some of them, or a good number of them potentially, can be counter to receiving what it is that you ask for, because you believe you are not worthy, or you're not good enough, or the circumstances of your life somehow prevent it. You're not charmed, right? You're not one of those. So how could you possibly have the thing that you're asking for? It is a belief that many people hold that prevents what you've asked for from coming into reality, because you're actively presenting another request in your speaking of, I'm not good enough, right? Just to keep this simple, that is another request that you're putting to the universe. The universe will come back and say, yes, you're not good enough, and we're going to show you why you aren't, right? Because it is giving you what you believe to be true. And it also is giving you what you habitually think. And typically what happens, well, we would say it always happens, is as you think the same thoughts over and over, they either become your beliefs or represent your beliefs, at least the ones that you're conscious of. And so what's important here is to train your mind to release any of these limitations in your thinking. It is important for you to assume that what you request is coming to you and it will show up in your life. And it is important for you to recognize the beliefs that you hold and the habitual thoughts that you hold that prevent what you request from coming into manifestation in your life, you see? And you have much support in your world to meet this objective. You have at least one guide that works with you constantly. For many people, that guide is just wishing that you would say, hey guide, come and help me. I have a question, I've got a difficulty. Many people don't know that they have a guide, or if they have a guide that they know of, they don't call on that guide often enough. But also there is the whole angelic kingdom that is here in service to humanity. Understand that the angelic community is here in service to humanity. I don't know if everyone understands this. There are the archangels that everyone has heard of, but there are also several dozen named angels that have a particular focus, and that focus is in support of your pursuits in this life, whether it be abundance or health or relationships, very, very many different perspectives. And then beyond that, there are the 144,000 unnamed angels that are not quite as busy as the archangels would be, because everyone knows who the archangels are and they call upon them constantly. But the 144,000 unnamed angels are not just sitting around waiting, but they're not nearly as busy as the archangels. And they are quite powerful into and unto themselves. And so you have these resources to call upon. And all that's required of you to call upon these resources is to believe that they are there in service to you and can assist you with the requests that you're making, can assist you with the changes that you're attempting to make, right? And so you call upon them. And there are many references in the world for these angels, and we can give you these separately after the session if you would like more information. But call upon these resources to help you bring forth the manifestation of your heart's desire. And then this is where the magic happens. It is much more complicated than what we are saying, but this is the simple version of it, something that you can take hold of and actually use in sort of a step-by-step fashion, right? Make your requests and assume that your requests are fulfilled. Get out of your own way. Ask for help, right? And assume that that help is on the way or is already present. Now, does that help with the question that you asked? Or is there some aspects of it that we can touch on in more detail?
I guess a follow-up question would be, sometimes I doubt myself, so I have a
Yes.
vision of what I want to manifest.
Yes.
But then I think, am I coming from a place that is comfortable, known? Because I know that if you plunge into the unknown, you're going to be receptive to things that you would have never imagined. So I think it's just about how can we move forward in life while finding that medium.
So you have a complex thought pattern around these things, right? You have evolved quite the elaborate story around how your reality works. And we are not trying to downplay the way that you are. In fact, it is quite admirable that you have spent the effort that you have attempting to understand the nature of your reality, right? But what you said to begin with is that you doubt yourself, right?
Correct.
Yes, and so what is doubt, right? In some forms, it can be fear, perhaps a low-level fear. Or it is a belief that what you are considering is not possible or not feasible for some reason. You doubt yourself because you don't already know or don't already possess the experience, you see? And so doubt comes from you not seeing what you're attempting to accomplish or manifest in the now. And so there is some trust factor involved here because you do live in time and space. And there is a delay built in between when you make the request and when you are given the response to your request. request. And when you're given the support, right, there's some time delay. That is a natural part of your system. But what we would suggest is replace doubt with this idea of assuming, right? And just go headstrong into assuming that what it is that you're thinking is viable, right? Ask for assistance. And what will happen is you will be shown whether this idea that you have, this vision that you have, is viable, because other things will come up if it can't be provided to you in the specific way that you're asking for it. A good example of this is sometimes people say, well, I want this by 10 p.m. on the 5th, right? Well, that's not really the way the universe works, as the universe is outside of time. They are working to comply with your request, but this construct of time doesn't apply in the greater reality, right? So you're asking for something that doesn't make sense to them. It's like, well, why did you put these letters and numbers on your request? What are we to do with this? Time doesn't really mean anything in the greater perspective. So replace your doubt with the assumption that what you ask for is manifest, right? And be open to how the universe responds to it. It may respond in a different way than your vision is calling for, and yet when you sit back and look at it, you can say, well, that was really my vision after all. It just, it came in as purple instead of blue, and, actually I prefer blue. I didn't get to that point in my vision making that blue is actually better. Do you see what we are saying?
Yeah,
Very well.
definitely. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome, my dear. How are we doing for time? 7:32. So we have, what is it, another 13 minutes? 13 minutes? Yes. 7:45. Are there other questions that you would wish us to address?
Kind of jumping off on what you said or what you asked, how do you connect to your higher self? Like, what's the easiest, well, maybe not easiest, but what's the way to connect? Just like you do with, the vehicle does with Jonathon.
Yes. Well, the way that the instrument, John, learned it was by becoming very familiar with how things felt, right? When you are within your being, right? You could be in your head or in your mind, right? You're not taking advantage of senses. You're not necessarily seeing with your eyes or hearing with your ears and so on and so forth, right? So what you want to be able to do is develop a skill at discernment between different kinds of vibrations. And the way that you start that is by holding an object in one hand and a very different object in another hand, and begin to discern the difference in the way that they feel, or a difference in your perception of these objects. As you get good at recognizing differences or contrasts, we're not saying that you need to identify the objects, but you're looking for contrasts, right? And you start to get a feel or a familiarity for that vibration. Do this a lot. For example, even though it is now nearly over, this expo has many tables filled with many beautiful crystals, right, and many jewelry objects. And this is a perfect setting. You can go to a rock shop, right, or a crystal shop, and you can go in and you can pick up this and you can pick up that and close your eyes and begin to see the contrast between them. And this then is an analogy or perhaps a metaphor for what you're doing within your mind. And in your mind, what you're doing is you begin by making a request. I wish to be in communication with my higher self. I want to interact with my higher self. And then as your mind is quiet, without your little voice in the back of your head running, you're just quiet and silent and calm and peaceful, feel that, right? And then say, I wish to connect with my guide, the one that is most active with me in my life now. And then you begin to contrast that with the energies that you perhaps perceived as your higher self, right? And then you can go further and you can say, for example, if you have a loved one who has passed, you can think of them and remember them in a loving way, or a way that brings across strong or stronger. It doesn't have to be strong emotion, but emotion, right? So that it is very clearly fixed in your mind, their presence. And then contrast their energy with the guide and then with the higher self. You'll begin to identify what is what as you're doing this contrast, you see? And you can bring in other beings or you can use other material items or what have you. But what's important is for you to engage in this process of contrast so that what you can do is you can say, higher self, be with me, right? And then the energy comes in. You may take some practice for this to become conscious to you. And then you'll begin to identify it, you see? And then you can bring in your guide. And when you do this over and over again with the different energies, you'll begin to understand their signature, right? You'll begin to understand their unique vibration. And as you're able to uniquely define them, you will also discover that they exist somewhere in the sphere of your consciousness. They might be in this direction, or they might be in this direction, or they're coming from behind you and to the right, right? You'll begin to pick up a certain directionality to that energy. And then as you get good at identifying an energy through the contrast, and you've asked for, you've requested, and I've told you before, ask and it is given. When you ask for your higher self to be with you, your higher self is with you. And so the onus is on you to be present for that, to release any of the mind chatter and anything that might get in the way so that you can engage in this process of contrast. Once you've done it enough, you will feel comfortable that you have contacted your higher self. And then what you do is you make a series of requests. We are repeating ourselves, but the process is very simple. You have a question of your higher self, right? You ask the question and you will be getting a response. And so your job is to find that response in your consciousness. And sometimes, depending on your abilities, your receptiveness, your sensitivity, you may or may not pick up the message in the moment. But your higher self will try any method to get the message back to you. So what's important in that is don't necessarily, if you feel like you are struggling with this, don't necessarily think that you have to get a response in the moment. The response could come to you in something that you hear in passing from others' conversation, or if you're watching a movie, there's a phrase someone says, or you see something. You maybe see a pattern of numbers on a clock or what have you, right? And then this will trigger a knowing, shall we say, for you. You don't necessarily know where it's going to come from, but what you're doing is you're keeping your senses high, knowing that the message could come from anywhere. And so what happens is, as you recognize that you're getting the message, then your level of trust increases, right? And then you begin to take more and more action down this path. You're asking questions. You're getting a response. You're asking for a message that you can't deny, right? That you can't miss. And as you're making these requests and you're refining your requests and you're getting better at it, and you're asking for support, you're asking to get the response from your higher self that you are seeking, it will come, right? Most of the problem here, from what we see, is that you have not trained your attention well enough to be able to, quote, hear. It's not that you would necessarily hear a voice. Some do, but it's mostly that it is just a knowing that comes into your being, right? You are not practiced at this focus of attention for the knowing to be something that you can acknowledge and make use of. It is about practice. Indeed, like anything that you have learned in your life. When, for example, when you began to learn how to drive an automobile, how good were you at driving that automobile? Well, it is no different than you being able to tune your focus of attention. Most people are habitually tuning their attention in a specific way, and they're not used to, nor have they come across the idea that they could tune their attention into their inner worlds and tune their attention specifically to their higher self and get responses in the form of either thoughts that come to you, or knowing that you suddenly possess that you didn't before. It could be as like an aha moment, right? It just occurred to me. Well, how did it occur to you? Where did that come from? Sometimes it is your higher self. A lot of times it's your guide. Now, does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're most welcome. So, do we have time for another question?
Sure.
Well, it is better to do and ask for forgiveness, right? So,
5
let-
minutes. They can
5
answer
minutes.
5 minutes.
Very well. So, what else can we speak about this evening? Well, we can talk about topics in your society as well. We are happy to do so if you don't have any specific questions.
Do you feel that we can have more support cosmologically now than ever before?
We would say yes, because there is this happening upon your planet now that only happens very infrequently, right? And so there is much more support available now. If you were to be at Bashar tonight, and thank you for being here instead of at Bashar, that Bashar would tell you that there are many aliens or friends of humanity in spaceships about the planet, right? And yet, what are aliens, right? What are these beings in spaceships, right? They are another consciousness. And many of them, most of them, are quite benevolent, and they're looking out for our best interest, right? They're attempting to help shepherd us through this point that we're moving to, where this bifurcation, as you say, is happening, right? They're lending their support to the process. So you have that, but you have much attention upon the planet now from forces that you can't even conceive of, even ones that we don't quite even know how to speak about in English so that you can understand what we are speaking. But there are forces in your universe that are coming to play because this shift, this bifurcation, this ascension, as some people like to call it, happens so infrequently. And there are those that would like to see how grand it could actually be. And so they are lending their hand in support to this process that you're in. So yes.
Could I
yes.
ask go just a little bit more on that? Is that it just left my head right now? Does anybody else have a question?
I kind of lost it.
It's weird.
It is something that happens when we speak. Sometimes we answer your question before you even ask it. Isn't that odd?
Kind of follow up to
Yes.
the earlier question. You
Yes.
said we need to train our focus of attention to
Yes.
these responses for our higher self, or this
Yes.
inner knowing.
Yes.
Do you have some practical suggestions? I would think meditation probably is one of the ways to train, right?
Well, let us talk about that a little bit. From our perspective, what meditation does is to help you to quiet your mind, right? This is sort of the first step of meditation. As you are quieting your mind, then what is coming to you can be more apparent. But what is coming to you, and why is it coming to you? This is a part that isn't answered typically in meditation. What is your purpose in being in meditation? Have you made any requests before you entered into meditation? Or are you just quieting your mind and quieting your body and waiting for something magical to happen? Examine your beliefs on this. Meditation is good because you can quiet your mind with it. And quieting your mind is an excellent resource to have when you've asked your higher self to come forward and be in communication with you, right? Because a quiet mind would then, any communication that comes in would be quite loud, right? If your inner voice is silenced, because your inner voice is louder than anything in your mind, right? It completely takes your attention from time to time. If you're able to quiet that, and you've made the request before meditation that you wish your higher self to come and speak with you, to share with you, then the meditative state will help you in hearing what is being given to you. You see? Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Very well. Anything else anyone would wish to ask? we are enjoying our time here. Thank you much for
I did
providing
remember
this.
what I was going to say.
Yes, please.
Is there such an interest on Earth?
Yes.
Because just as one part of the body, if it's messed up, affects the rest of the body, so if the Earth plane does not ascend in the highest and lightest and most beautiful way possible, it will also have that reverberatory effect, cosmologically.
indeed.
Yes.
And yet what we would say is that the portion that will ascend is in inevitability,
Yes.
you see? And it's just what is the fallout of that event. How much did those of service to self, how many beings or points of focus were they able to garner on their side before the split was complete, right? How many of those beings got trapped in that paradigm, that programming, that agenda, right? And yes, what you're saying is that the impact of this shift and what results in what we as humanity then move on to and evolve has a dramatic impact upon the universe. We actually have the opportunity, once we shift, to join what a lot of people like to say the galactic community, right? And now, even though humanity is a part of the galactic community, it is all withheld from you by those who are in intelligence agencies first off, and then by those who pull the strings, so to speak, in your society. You are purposely kept in the dark, right? What will happen in the shift, all of this withholding of knowledge, this lack of education that you have disappears, and everyone will be brought up to speed. Everyone will begin to understand the true history of your Earth. You'll begin to understand what the programs were that held you in the dark for so long. And then as you gain your freedom then, and you begin to manifest your heart's desire, there's so much lying in wait. You can imagine how squelched down all of humanity is. And you know how powerful humanity is, right?
Oh, yes, what you speak of sounds like utopia. Can't wait.
Well, it is not quite utopia because people are always working with, the contents of their being. And there will always be, less and less as time goes on, the struggling with belief systems and patternings within their being, right? And that begins to lessen over time. It is not a quick shift. It is not like it's black and then it's white and you're in utopia. You will continue to evolve and expand as you've chosen the path of service to others, simply said.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. We feel it is time, right? And so, thank you for being here with us. We are so grateful for this opportunity to come and speak to you. It is a gift that you have given to us, and so thank you for that.
Thank you.